I'm glad that we will be joined by the director of the Department of Science of the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, Mr. Bartłomiej Banaszak. Great to have you.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm just a modest civil servant, but it's indeed a great privilege to say a few words at the end of this conference. Maybe I will start from reminding us what are actually the reasons why we met here, or are we meeting here today and yesterday. And I think all the goals, I'm sure, were really fulfilled. First of all, our simple goal was actually to follow the recommendation by the expert team, to have a kind of the advisory mechanism of the constant monitoring of the progress in the EDUP program. And I think the team was right, because the first hard instrument in the whole scheme is the midterm evaluation, and it will happen only 3 years from now. It is very distant. And it would be very risky without such a mechanism that we lose momentum, as Agata said, that some changes in the authorities at the certain universities will end up in the situation when simply the project will not have the priority anymore. And I think this conference really created a pressure, both on the authorities which are leaving, or simply the previous term of the authorities of the leadership of the university, but also on the new one. Both teams, actually, the universities where the teams are changing, because there are also the teams which are the same, had to actually get involved in the exercise. They had to fill in the survey, prepare to the conference, and finally engage in a discussion, which I think was challenging of all the participants. But we also think that we need, and this is the observation by the ministry, we need a kind of the platform of mutual learning. And these were actually the postulates which we get in the course of this year, that the universities which are at the beginning of their path really have the opportunity to learn from each other. And actually it happened. I think all the universities which have participated in the conference had some actually memories notes from this competition, which I think will help them develop their plans and simply also preparation to the next round. But I think it also created the opportunity of great mentoring from the side of the 5 distinguished experts, namely Professor Lauris Holm-Nielsen, Professor Seibold Norda, Professor Ulrike Beisigel, Professor Simon Gaskel, Professor Józef Palinkas, and I would like to ask you for a big applause for them, for this great support. And the third reason was simply the accountability. This scheme is 3 billion zlotys. This system very seldom sees such a pool of money, and we need the transparency in this process. And I'm very happy that so many people not only were observing the conference in the room, but were also observing the conference online. And as a matter of transparency, we discussed yesterday with Professor Nielsen and Professor Norda also the question what to do with the surveys. And there is strong recommendation actually to make the surveys public. I think there were the surveys which were filled in by all the institutions. There is nothing secret there. And but what I have to actually maybe somehow stress is that the universities were not informed that we had such a plan. And this is a matter of being frank here. So now, for now, actually, it's just the request for your agreement that we actually publish this report. And if you have any reservation to such a step, just please approach us. And during this conference, we heard a lot of good news. I think what also our experts underlined, EDUP works. And I think we can observe a kind of the first signs of change at the universities, which is caused by EDUP scheme, especially those universities which engaged many researchers in activities by proper identification, for instance, of the research teams, or the activities in which the researchers could be involved. Another good news is that many universities used the opportunity, which was actually deep analysis of the strengths and weaknesses, the deep analysis which was done prior to the competition. And I think this opportunity was used especially by the second 10 of the universities. Of course, the first so-called 10, the so-called later, the first and the top 10 universities, of course, they use this analysis because they proceed with their plans. But we have very positive information after this conference that the second 10 is not losing momentum, and we really have to, we are really convinced that we should treat the group of the 20 universities as a whole, as the runners, as the universities which are heading towards achieving the status of the research-intensive university. Minister Budzanowska also mentioned one more university, which is Technical University of Poznań, which is not accidental. It is true that because of the rigid entry conditions, the competition, it's always like that there's some universities, some candidates which is just below the borderline. And it happened in case of the Technical University of Poznań. And at the same time, they are also beneficiary of the European universities, and they deserve to be part of this group. But also, we heard some conclusions, many conclusions, which I think should make the university reconsider some approaches to the way the plans are actually implemented. One of the most striking conclusions was the one which was voiced by Professor Holm-Nielsen, is the fact that some universities treat the EDUP as the appendix to the whole agenda, to the whole activities of the universities. And it's not what we meant. And we clearly, the scheme of actually allowed for acknowledging in the plans also the activities which would be normally done with the normal budget, but actually simply fit in the agenda of actually becoming the research university. Also, the flexibility in spending money from the so-called subvention is also a sign that we do not want to treat the EDUP as the appendix to the normal activities. The EDUP should be embedded in the daily life of the universities. Another very important comment by Professor Norda was about long-term commitment. There's no possibility now that the new rectors will change the plans. It is a 7-year commitment, and this is the commitment of the whole community. Of course, we can consider some changes in certain activities by the objectives which were set in the plans will be evaluated. Will be simply a subject of the evaluation, and actually scrapping them, it is the best recipe to be out of the first 10 after the next evaluation. And I also would like to underline one more conclusion. It was about the mergers. I observed, I have to be frank, some discussion on this during last panel. But it's true, but I'm happy to hear that the so-called alliances or the federation, it is not the thing the panel meant while making the conclusions regarding the consolidations in certain academic centers. It is just the alliance is just first step, federation is another step, but the merger is the ultimate goal, which is really justified in certain academic centers. And as the final word from my side is to maybe explain what's going to be next. I think this framework of the conference is successful, and we are going to continue. We are still thinking about some additional schemes or mechanisms which could be used in the framework of this soft mechanism. But surely we need the continuation of this approach. Okay, so I would like to thank once again to our distinguished experts. I would like to thank all of you, all of the universities which were participating in the conference, which made a huge effort to prepare to this conference. And I would like also to thank my team in the ministry, which actually made really huge effort to prepare all this conference, namely Kasia, Łukasz, Przemek, Miłosz, and Łukasz, Kamil. They are maybe not all in the room. And also big thank to our hosts, the University of Warsaw, and technicians, which actually made all this event very smooth and without any problems. Thank to all of you.